Thank you for listening to the show on Really Big Something Channel. October 11th, 2017.
105 here on the great WRKO. Okay, my friends, topic is red hot, so we're going to stay with it for one more segment. The downfall of Harvey Weinstein. And do you think this exposes the pure hypocrisy of Hollywood and the limousine liberals in Hollywood? 617-266-6868. But let me also ask you the Kuhner Country poll question du jour, as the French would say, of the day. We're going to discuss it right after we're done with Harvey. Sponsored by Bill Kelly Financial Services. As you know, huge media firestorm about Trump allegedly making a joke about Tillerson's IQ. So, let me ask you this. Do you think Trump was joking about Secretary of State Rex Tillerson's IQ? If you believe the answer is yes, it was clearly a joke, text the letter A to 680-680. If you believe the answer is, Jeff, I don't think so. I think that was a bit of a needle. I think it was a bit of a veiled shot at his Secretary of State. No, I don't think he was joking. Text the letter B to 680-680. As always, you can vote online at WRKO.com. We'll discuss this topic, poll results, next segment, but let's stay with this a little bit longer. Ronnie in Boston. Go ahead, Ronnie.
Hey, Jeff, thanks as always for taking the call.
My pleasure, Ron.
My pleasure as well. You asked the question a little while ago, who's the biggest loser in the Harvey Weinstein scandal? And I think that it's every Democrat running for re-election in 2018 because they rely so heavily on Hollywood money, and Republicans don't. And you can bet that Steve Bannon is going to make taking money from Hollywood, it's not going to be an asset for Democrats anymore. It's going to be a liability. Because, like, if you're someone like Liz Warren, who is just known for she brings home the bacon with Hollywood for the Democrat Party. Where's she been to say anything about Harvey Weinstein? And how can she or any other Democrat get up there and talk about women's rights and women's issues when your campaign is funded to the hilt by Harvey Weinstein's friends? This is a huge setback for every Democrat in 2018.
Ronnie, let me just I agree with you, but let me just play devil's advocate for a second. It's not like they are groping women or assaulting women or raping women. It's Harvey Weinstein, big-time Hollywood mogul. They don't live in Hollywood. They live in D.C. or they live in their districts. So maybe they didn't know. The fact that they take money from the guy doesn't mean necessarily that they knew what he was doing or that they approve, now that it's come out, that what he did was right. What do you say to that argument?
Well, that's a very fair point, Jeff. My counter-argument would be is that the voters are already frustrated and fed up with Hollywood. And, I mean, look at all the money Hollywood poured into the 6th district race there to get Ossoff over the finish line. And that was well before this Harvey Weinstein scandal, and they were still rejected, no matter how much money they poured in. So with so many American voters already disgusted with Hollywood, they can't watch a single late-night television show. It's not jokes anymore. They're either yelling at you or they're crying. You can't turn to anything, anywhere in Hollywood without it being a lecture about Trump, whether it's a movie, a TV show, a talk show, music. I mean, Eminem just came out and said, if you support Trump, I don't want you to listen to my music. So people are already so frustrated with Hollywood that there's no way that this Harvey Weinstein scandal makes that any better for Democrats at all.
Ronnie, what I find incredible is this, and maybe you can explain it to me and to everybody out there, which is, how do these liberals honestly go to bed at night bashing Trump relentlessly? And I'll tell you what it is, okay? The big thing for a lot of women that I know, like feminist women, progressive women, liberal women, it's the supposed Billy Bush tape. They're obsessed with the Billy Bush tape. That's all. I know them. They are in this building. I hear them at lunch. These are all Elizabeth Warren supporters. They have, I'm telling you, sometimes they even wear their pea hats, forgive me. And he said, grab him by the, grab him and grab him and grab him and grab him. And he said disgusting things, and he hates women, and he's a misogynist, and he's a sexist. And yet you've got Harvey Weinstein, forget talking about it, doing it, raping women, allegedly, assaulting women, allegedly, on tape admitting he's just grabbing women's breasts. And they're all taking money from this guy, and they've all enabled this guy for decades. And yet Harvey's a hero, Hillary's a hero, Obama's a hero, but Trump is the bad guy? How do they justify that fundamental hypocrisy and double standard and contradiction in their mind?
Well, they've never had to justify it before, Jeff, because Mitt Romney certainly never challenged Hollywood hypocrisy, and it was every bit as rampant during the '08 election, the '12 election. But, John McCain was never going to call out Hollywood hypocrisy. Mitt Romney was never going to do it. The Republican establishment was never going to do it. And yet, look at what's happened when Trump did it. When somebody finally stands up for working people, for decent common sense values, when somebody points out this hypocrisy and really goes toe to toe with them, whether it's Hollywood, the NFL, the media. I mean, look at these winning results that we get, and this is why they hate him so much, because we've all been mobilized in a way that now goes way beyond Trump, and they can't stop it. They just can't stop it.
Ronnie, as always, great call. Don't be a stranger. 617-266-6868. Look, this thing is growing and growing. It's now breaking. I mentioned it last hour. I want to mention it again because there's a Boston connection. Ben Affleck, another huge Hollywood lefty, big Harvey Weinstein supporter, big Hillary supporter, rabid never Trumper. Guess what? Not only has he been shamefully pretty much silent or very late in condemning Harvey Weinstein, now it turns out, guess what? An actress accuses him of groping. I think this is a hell of a lot more common in Hollywood than the media is trying to let on. I think Harvey Weinstein is the tip of the iceberg. He may be an egregious example, but this cast couching, as they call it, I think it's been going on for decades, and it's the modus operandi. It's the MO, it's the culture in Hollywood, it's how it's always been, and how it always, I think, continue to be. And that's why they're being exposed for the shameless hypocrites that they are. Jerry on the Cape. Go ahead, Jerry.
Comrade.
How you are, my friend?
It is Red October, no? Comrade, the left always talks about the children. Let me tell you about the children of Hollywood and how they're treated. 1976, actor Todd Bridges of Different Strokes says he was abused by his publicist starting at the age of 11. 1977, Roman Polanski charged with 5 counts of sexual abuse against 13-year-old Samantha Jane Gailey. 1986, Corey Haim confesses to Corey Feldman. An adult male in the Hollywood upper echelon convinced him it was perfectly normal for older men and younger boys in the business to have sexual relations. 1987, Bob Villard, remember that name, Jeff, because look him up. He's an agent. He's big with the Democrats. He represented Leonardo DiCaprio, who's charged with transportation of child porn. 1988, director Victor Salva, convicted of molesting a 12-year-old boy, starring in his debut feature, Clown House. The 1990s, Mark Collins Rector and Chad Shackley allegedly host lavish parties with underage teenage boys with drugs, alcohol, and pornography.
Oh, my God. Jerry.
The list goes on and on, Jeff.
Jerry, so what you're saying is Hollywood is really Sodom and Gomorrah.
That's exactly, Jeff, it's pure evil. These people are deviants.
Thank you for that call, Jerry. 6-1. So, in other words, Harvey Weinstein, it fits right in? So, I think what you're saying, Jerry, is a lot of this is just faux outrage. I mean, I'm sure a lot of the women feel disgusted, don't get me wrong. But the other people in the business that are condemning this and acting all shocked and horrified, what you're saying is, that's the real Hollywood. Patrick in New Hampshire. Go ahead, Patrick.
So, Jeff, we're always talking about the hypocrisy of the left. But what I noticed here is that we have an issue with Weinstein that's clearly an issue of the left. And the response by Hillary Clinton and the Obamas was 5 days. The coverage of it by CNN and MSNBC took 3 days. But all of those people were commenting within hours and screaming at Republicans about gun control after Vegas. Why do they take their time and sit back and not think about the victims and jump all over these issues within hours when it comes to something that's, not
brilliant.
their cup of tea?
Oh, Patrick, that's just brilliant. Look, let me just tell you this. To me, if somebody did that to my wife, somebody did that to my daughter, I'm telling you, I go berserk. You don't treat women like that. You don't treat children. You don't treat children like that. You don't treat women like that. You just don't do it. And it's why I opposed Bill Clinton. It's why I oppose sexual predators of all kind. And so that these people in Hollywood stood silent all of these decades and enabled this guy to assault woman after woman after woman after woman, it's incredible. And remember, you're right. These are the same Hollywood lefties. The silence on gun control. The silence. The silence. The silence. Hey, we're not talking about the Second Amendment. We're talking about, do me a favor, Brittany. Play me the Harvey Weinstein cut again. I just want to, this is a little taste of this guy. So he gropes an Italian model. She's a Miss Italy, I think, finalist. And she complains to the police. He grabs her, he grabs her breasts. He starts trying to go under her skirt. She complains to the special victims unit at the NYPD. They put a microphone on her. They essentially bug her. And she's now got a wire. And she meets him at the hotel again. And he's admitting to her, yeah, I grabbed you, and I'm used to this.
That's it. If you embarrass me in this hotel,
I'm not embarrassing you. It's just that I don't feel comfortable.
Honey, don't have a fight with me on the
It's not
phone.
mine.
Please, I'm not going to do anything. I swear on my children. Please come in. On everything. I'm a famous guy.
I'm feeling very uncomfortable right
Please
now.
come in now. And 1 minute. And if you want to leave, when the guy comes with my
Why
jacket, you can
yesterday
go.
you touched my breast?
Oh, please, I'm sorry. Just come on. I'm used to that.
But
Come on.
are you used to that?
Yes, come in.
By the way, he's married with children. He's married with children. And notice how he throws his power in her face. I'm a famous guy. Wink, wink. You want a job? You want a career? You want to make movies? Come on, get inside. You know what you got to do. Okay? I need a little massage. Let's put it that way. 617-266-6868. You can text us at 680-680. This is from 617. Jeff, regarding the Billy Bush tape, didn't Angelina Jolie and Gwyneth Paltrow let Weinstein grope them, essentially, for fame and money? Didn't they just prove Trump right? 617, I never even looked at it that way. Mike in Newton. Go ahead, Mike.
Hey, Jeff, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Jeff, what did you say about these creepy guys? They're there. They're out there. But in defense of men, you had a caller that indicted all men. I've been in the workforce. I've been around real men, Jeff. And I can say 99% of the time, none of my friends or anybody have never intimidated a woman or a girl into sexual innuendos or whatever. And by the way, that 16-year-old girl, she's a very brave. But the fact of the matter is, she's as brave as my kids, because my girls, my wife, my sisters would have kicked him in the testicles and then gone to the manager.
No, honestly, honestly, if this had happened to I think Jenna is a hero. I think what she did was really brave and really courageous. And at 16, on top of it all, if somebody did that to my wife or propositioned my wife or my daughter, and she went to management to complain, I'd say, honey, I agree with you completely, but why don't you slap him in the face or kick him in the where? Kick him slap him, or kick him into you-know-where, and then go complain to management. 617-266. I'll tell you this. Brittany would have kicked his ass. 126 here on the great WRKO. Okay, my friends. Is there now a growing rift between President Trump and Rex Tillerson, his Secretary of State? We are now potentially on the eve of a possible military confrontation with North Korea. In fact, the Mad Midget, the Rocket Man, has now come out and said that, quote, Trump has lit the wick of war. And he's threatening again to this, the Mad Midget is, to unleash hail of fire upon America and American troops at the DMZ. Trump is scheduled apparently to visit the demilitarized zone in the next couple of weeks. General Mattis, the Secretary of Defense, has now told the American Army, get ready for possible war with North Korea. So as this is going on, the media now is determined to say, or at least push the narrative, that Trump and Secretary of State Rex Tillerson are feuding. There is now a wedge between them, and that Tillerson may be on the way out. And in particular, here is what took place. Trump gave an exclusive interview to Forbes magazine. It is the interview was conducted by Randall Lane. He's a prominent writer at Forbes. And so in that interview, Trump is, going on about how over 9 months, quote unquote, we had over 50 bills passed. I'm not talking about executive orders only, which are very important. I'm talking about bills. Then Randall Lane says, well, what about the story that was published, NBC News, in which at a July 20th Pentagon meeting, allegedly Secretary of State Rex Tillerson, according to these anonymous sources, called you a moron? Trump, now this is the way it's written. The way it's written is very key. Randall Lane writes, quote, he counterpunches, in this case firing a shot at Secretary of State Rex Tillerson, who reportedly called his boss a moron. Quote, this is now Trump, I think it's fake news. But if he did that, I guess we'll have to compare IQ tests. And I can tell you who is going to win, unquote. The media immediately jumped over that quote and the characterization of that quote. This is the key, that he fired a shot at Secretary of State Rex Tillerson, saying the president had just insulted the IQ, the intelligence of his own Secretary of State. That's how much he disrespects Rex Tillerson. Sarah Huckabee Sanders was bombarded with questions on this very issue. Here is her answer. Roll it, Britain.
How does the president expect the Secretary of State to be effective when he's questioning his intelligence?
Again, he wasn't questioning the Secretary of State's intelligence. He made a joke. Maybe you guys should get a sense of humor and try it sometime. But he simply made a joke. He's been extremely clear time and time again, despite the fact that you guys want to continue to bring this up and create a story. He's got 100% confidence in the Secretary of State. He said it multiple times over the last couple of weeks, and we're trying to move forward and focus on the agenda while you guys want to move forward and talk about who likes who, when that's simply not what we're doing.
In other words, Trump insists it was simply a joke. Sarah Huckabee Sanders, the White House, insists it was just a joke. Let me ask you, do you think it was just a joke? Or do you think he really was, in some ways, maybe subtly or not so subtly, taking a jab, taking a shot, needling his own Secretary of State? And should he have even made, let's assume it was a joke, should he have even made that joke, which could potentially be seen as undermining the Secretary of State when we're on the eve of a possible military conflict with North Korea? Was Trump joking, Or is there really now a brewing feud between Trump and T-Rex? 617-266-6868. Your calls, your reaction next. Let's take it to Evan Heidrich in the newsroom. 136 here on the great WRKO. Okay, the Boy Scouts will now admit girls. It's official. An historic change, really, for the Boy Scouts, and I think in many ways for America. But before I get to that burning topic, the Kuhner Country poll question du jour of the day, sponsored by Bill Kelly Financial Services. Do you think Trump was joking about Rex Tillerson's IQ? Was it a joke, or was it a veiled jab or shot? If you believe he was joking, text the letter A to 680-680. If you believe, no, I think he's trying to send him a message. You may think I'm a moron. You may want to talk behind my back. But I think I'm smarter than you are, and you should know your place. In other words, he was serious. Text the letter B to 680-680. As always, you can vote online at WRKO.com. Let me be candid with you, Kuhner Country. I know Trump. I'm not saying we're buddies. We go golfing together, but I know his character a little bit. He loves to joke. I think in some ways he gets himself in trouble because he makes jokes, which he thinks are funny, and people interpret the wrong way. To me, I think this was clearly a joke. I know that he respects Tillerson. In fact, he was the one that pushed for Tillerson to be Secretary of State. He called him. He reached out to him. There were many people like Rudy Giuliani who wanted the job. He was the one that sought out Tillerson. He's got the highest respect for him. So I think it was a joke, but that's just my opinion. I'm an A on this one. Brittany, what are the results thus far?
76% yes, 24% no.
Okay, speaking of T-Rex, he was an Eagle Scout. And the reason why I mention that is that now there has been a monumental, almost sea change decision. So earlier today, the Boy Scouts of America, for the first time in over 100 years since their founding, have now announced that girls soon, they say they're going to integrate this next year and the following year, will be allowed to become Cub Scouts and eventually earn the coveted rank of Eagle Scout. And so according now to the chief executive of the Boy Scouts, they say that it's simply social evolution. We believe it is, quote, critical to evolve how our programs meet the needs of families interested in positive and lifelong experiences for their children. And so they say the board of directors voted unanimously to make this historic change, which, as most of you know, the Boy Scouts has been essentially primarily for boys since its founding, as I said, more than 100 years ago. However, starting next year, young girls can now join Cub Scout units. They're known as dens. Local scouting organizations can then choose to have dens for girls and dens for boys. However, Cub Scout dens will be single gender. So at that lower, what do you call it, younger level, whatever you want to call it, it's either going to be, these dens will either be all boys or all girls. There will be a separate program for the older girls. And this is going to kick in 2019, according to the Boy Scouts. And the older girls, they will be able to join the Boy Scouts of America. And by doing this, they can earn the rank of Eagle Scout. And they say that the big reason why they did it, they claim, is because they took 2 nationwide surveys in which a lot of parents said that their daughters would like to participate both in the Cub Scouts and in the Boy Scouts. Now, apparently girls are part of several scouting programs. I wasn't even aware of this. Venturing and sea scouting. This is more like outdoor activities. Exploring, which is apparently a career-oriented mentoring program. And STEM, which focuses on science and math. However, those programs do not offer a path to Eagle Scout for the girls. And what's really been driving this has been NOW, the National Organization for Women, big supporters of abortion, radical feminists. They say that it's time for the Boy Scouts to admit girls in all programs. And the reason why they champion the cause of a teenager in New York by the name of Sydney Ireland, like the country, Ireland, because she wants to attain the rank of Eagle Scout as her older brother did. And so here's what she told NBC News. I just want to do what the Boy Scouts do, earn the merit badges and earn the Eagle Award. Now, she does admit that the Girl Scouts is a great organization, but she says, I don't want to be part of the Girl Scouts. Quote, I think girls should just have the opportunity to be a member of any organization that they want, regardless of gender. Now, a couple of points need to be said, and then I want to ask you your opinion. Should girls now be allowed to be admitted into the Boy Scouts? In other words, do you agree with the Boy Scouts' decision? Do you think girls, younger girls, older girls, should now be brought in to the Boy Scouts? 617-266-6868. I don't like it, and I'll tell you why I don't like it. Not because I don't think women should do or little girls should do outdoor activities or become scouts or learn survival techniques or so much of what the Boy Scouts offered. That's not the reason why. My question is an obvious one. What's wrong with the Girl Scouts? What's wrong? Like, again, why do we have to reinvent the wheel? Why are we constantly revolutionizing, transforming, and destroying institutions in America that work? The Boy Scouts work. They've worked for 100 years. The Girl Scouts work. In fact, and on this one, I'm with the Girl Scouts all the way, their executive director has come out, and she has said, in fact, that they have done study after study, and according to them, many girls learn best, they say, in an all-female environment. They're more comfortable around fellow girls. There's no sexual tension, especially when they get a little bit older. They don't have to worry about boys asking them out or, they're starting to get teenagers or adolescents. That all girls in an all-girl environment, leadership qualities, survival qualities, mentoring qualities, all of the great traits of the Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts, they say that girls actually do better in an all-female environment. I'm like, yes. To me, it's pretty obvious. Now, second point. Can there be one institution that doesn't have to have gender fluidity? Notice this attempt to create a unisex world. And more than that, notice this attempt in the name of diversity. What's happening? We're becoming homogenous. We're becoming less diverse. Everything has to be the same. Everything has to have female-male integration all the time in every institution. And so what I'm just pointing out is, in the name of diversity, you're creating an organization now that is losing its uniqueness. What was unique about the Boy Scouts? It was for boys. What was unique about the Girl Scouts? It was for girls. Were girls complaining? Niet. Were boys complaining? Niet. Were boys saying, boy, the Boy Scouts, it's just really boring. We got to bring in some girls. Were the girls all, except for this one, Sydney Ireland, okay, backed by the radical feminists, were most Girl Scouts saying, how come we're not with the boys? It really sucks to be a Girl Scout. Why can't we just be with the Boy Scouts? I wasn't a Boy Scout. I wish I was a Boy Scout. I loved my friends who were in the Boy Scouts. When they told me about their activities, the camping and the outdoor activities, honestly, I was envious. I wanted to join. My dad wouldn't let me. I wanted to join the Boy Scouts. And I'll tell you what appealed to me as an 8, 9, 10, 11, 12-year-old kid. Boys like to be with fellow boys. There's nothing wrong with that. And to go swimming together, and to do campfires together, and to learn how to survive in the wilderness together, and to do all, whatever, to rub two sticks together and you can start a fire. And why can't boys be allowed to be boys and girls allowed to be girls? And it's not that Jeff Kuhner's anti-woman or doesn't want women to succeed. It's nothing like that. It's just, why does everything that works have to be fundamentally changed and revolutionized? Why can't we have institutions that are all boys? Why? It's this attempt, ultimately, and you may disagree with me, it's this attempt, ultimately, to go after the male, to feminize men, to take away their masculinity, to take away these organizations or events or institutions that uniquely cater to boys and uniquely cater to young men. What's wrong with that? Why does everything have to be the same? And so here's my prediction. I'm telling you right now, the boys are not going to like it. The girls are going to start to feel uncomfortable. They're not going to like it. And what's going to happen, like everything else liberals touch, within 5, 10, 15 years, the Boy Scouts are either going to go out of business or you're going to see their membership drop like a stone. Because I'll tell you this, when I was 8, 9, 10, 11 years old, with all due respect, I didn't want to go hiking or camping with other girls. I wanted to be with other boys. And there's nothing wrong with that. 617-266-6868. Agree, disagree. Paul in New Hampshire. Go ahead, Paul.
Jeff, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. It's funny that you were talking about this today. There was a conversation in the summer at one of the summer camps in New Hampshire, and some of the leaders were talking about bringing girls on. I don't know how serious it was, but it was talked. So
I'm sorry, Paul. I missed that. There was talk of what?
Of bringing girls.
Oh, into the Boy Scouts?
Yeah.
Oh, it's official now. It's going to happen next year and then the year after that.
It's funny because all the numbers are going down, and the Mormon Church pulled out, and that's, I don't know how hundreds of thousands of them, but they were a big part of the Boy Scouts for a long time. And then, after the transgender stuff and some other stuff, a lot of people left.
So now, Paul, what do you think of this change? You're a Boy Scout leader, I take it, correct?
Yeah, it used to be.
Used to be, former Boy Scout leader. You think this is going to help the Boy Scouts or hurt the Boy Scouts?
Well, it's Boy Scouts. Boys got to get out there in their tents and they go out and explore and having fun. And, they're small when they get out there. They're 11 years old until 18 when they're hopefully get an Eagle Scout. But they need to be out there doing boy stuff, just like schools. As soon as the girls come in and, they act differently, and it's not going to be a good thing.
Paul, I agree with you. Thank you for that call. Look, it's the Boy Scouts. Well, now it's the boys and the Girl Scouts. So you've changed the Boy Scouts. Now, I just want to ask one thing. Brittany made a very good point. Those Girl Scouts that keep, banging me up every time in front of Stop and Shop with those chocolate mint cookies, hey, you want to buy a couple or... Well, am I giving it to you or am I giving it to the Boy Scouts now?
Well, that's the thing. What if all the girls go to the Boy Scouts and there's not going to be any Girl Scout cookies, Jeff? Don't mess with the Girl Scout cookies.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Can somebody tell me what was wrong with the Boy Scouts and what was wrong with the Girl Scouts? Can anybody tell me? 617-266-6868. More with your calls. Next. Okay, my friends, huge decision will have immense cultural ramifications. The Boy Scouts of America announce that the organization will now be accepting girls throughout all of its ranks. They're going to start next year with the little munchkins, the Cub Scouts. But then in 2019, girls will be in the Boy Scouts of America, and they could actually become Eagle Scouts. Good move, bad move. Catherine in New Hampshire, you're up next. Go ahead, Catherine.
Hey, I have mixed feelings on this. My kids were in the Girl Scouts, and I watched over time how it just got so neutralized, for lack of a better term, and neutered, that the Boy Scouts are where it's at, because they're doing the fun stuff and they're doing the more difficult stuff that the kids would be more proud of having achieved, especially in the older ages. Right now, Boy Scouts, they are taking girls in, I think it's the high school ages, and Girl Scouts are not hiking anymore. They don't have riflery. You can't even have a campfire unless the leader has taken a weekend class, and you have 10 gallons of water around you.
Catherine, so hold on. So they don't hike anymore? They don't do campfires, or they don't do that anymore?
You know, I'll tell you, that was my daughter's biggest complaint, and she really wanted to go hiking more. She wanted to do the camping more, and it was hard to find leaders that would actually do that stuff. She had a Girl Scout leader when she was in the younger ages say things like, I would much rather be in a hotel, I hate bugs, I don't really want to be here. And I'm thinking to myself, if that's how you feel, lady, keep it to yourself. The girls are having a blast. We're all, the other people are having a blast, but hiking was something they really were not doing anymore.
So, Catherine, if you don't mind me asking, what do they have the Girl Scouts doing then?
There's a lot of arts and crafts. There's a lot of fun activities like that. There's, of course, the cookies, but that gets old after around fourth grade.
Oh, I can imagine.
And that's why they're leaving in droves. And, of course, there was the Planned Parenthood issue where Planned Parenthood is getting towards the Girl Scout troops, and a lot of parents wanted to leave for that reason. And it was an individual troop-based thing, so if your leader wasn't into it, then it wasn't happening. But the money that they were getting from the World Association of Girl Guides, which is what every Girl Scout in the United States has to give money to, becomes a member of that as well. They give money to Planned Parenthood, and that made me lose a lot of interest. And I just, when my daughter wanted to go, she went for a while, but I also saw bullying as an issue that was not being addressed. And
wait, bullying in the Girl Scouts?
It wasn't being addressed, but I'll tell you, when it's the leader's daughter, how much help are you going to get?
Wow.
So that was something else. So that was something, and then I would go through the books, and I would go through the program. There were a lot of excellent things, and when you have an excellent leader, it's not a problem. But when you have a leader that's a little different on some of these things, then forget about it.
Catherine, thank you very much for that. That was a great call. Catherine, look, I was opposed to Planned Parenthood getting involved. To me, you don't politicize the Girl Scouts. To me, that's the one thing you just don't politicize them. Now, the thing about the Boy Scouts, and this is a brilliant point that Jared made to me because he was a former, in fact, an Eagle Scout himself, is when you actually think about the Boy Scouts, right? They teach them how to use, the boys. They teach them how to use knives, how to shoot, survival skills, everything that they teach them. It's in a sense they're almost pre-training you for the military. Not that you have to go into the military, obviously, but they are in some sense pre-training you to go into the military. So much so that Jared tells me if you become an Eagle Scout or whatever, you become, you're a Boy Scout, once you get into the military, you actually jump a category. You're no longer just private, you're private first class. And so what it seems to me now is this is about money. Because they've politicized the Boy Scouts, numbers are going down, so let's throw in more girls, so we'll get the membership up, get more dollars coming in, and if we want girls to potentially fight in the military, we pre-train them as well. So, look, I think it's bad for the Boy Scouts, and I think it's going to be bad for the Girl Scouts. To me, let the Boy Scouts be the Boy Scouts, and let the Girl Scouts be the Girl Scouts. But let the Girl Scouts do real, scouting things. Let them hike. Let them do stuff in the wilderness. Okay, we're going to continue with this. Your calls. Don't touch that dial.
The voice of Boston is you. 680 WRKO Boston, 93.7 WEEI HD2 Lawrence, Boston. It's 2 o'clock.